The little boy's voice cracked as tears streamed down his dirt-smudged cheek, his small fists clutching the broken pieces of what had once been his most precious possession. They broke my toy. 7-year-old Marcus sobbed, his words tumbling out between gasps for air. And they hit my mom.
Stay with them, would you?
His mother, Sarah, sat on the curb beside him, holding a tissue to her bleeding lip, her other arm wrapped protectively around her son's trembling shoulders. The factory workers who had shoved past them hadn't even looked back.
Known to parents
Their
intertwined.
laughter echoing
They'd
down
seen story
the street
vibrate all
as they
day. It's about
disappeared
sweet.
into the steel fortress that loomed over their small, growing louder with each passing second until it seemed to shake the very ground beneath their feet. Sarah looked up, instinctively pulling Marcus closer, but the boy's eyes widened with something other than fear. He recognized the leather-clad figures approaching on their gleaming machines. These were the bikers who gathered every Saturday at the diner down the street, the ones people whispered about and crossed the street to avoid, the ones parents warned their children to stay away from. The lead rider, a mountain of a man named Jake with a graying beard that reached his chest and arms covered in faded tattoos, cut his engine and dismounted. His boots hit the pavement with a heavy thud as he walked toward them, and Sarah felt her heart hammering in her chest. Behind him, a dozen more bikers killed their engines, the sudden silence almost as intimidating as the roar had been. "You all right, ma'am?" Jake's voice was surprisingly gentle, a stark contrast to his intimidating appearance. He knelt down, his leather creaking, and looked at the blood on Sarah's lip with concern, deepening the lines around his eyes. "My buddy Danny over there saw what happened from his truck. Said some factory goons pushed you around and broke the kid's toy," Marcus hiccuped, holding up the shattered pieces of a small wooden motorcycle his late father had carved for him 3 years ago, before the cancer took him. It was the only thing he had left of his dad, and now it lay in fragments in his small palms. "My daddy made it," he whispered, and something in Jake's weathered face softened even more. Jake took the pieces carefully, examining them with surprising delicacy for such large, rough hands. "Your daddy had real skill, son. This is beautiful work." He looked up at his crew, and without a word being spoken, they seemed to understand. "What factory do those guys work at?" "Bronson Manufacturing," Sarah said quietly, her voice shaking. "I was trying to talk to the manager about unpaid wages. I used to work there before they laid me off 6 months ago. They still owe me 3 weeks' pay. When Marcus and I tried to go inside, the security guards got rough." She touched her lip again, wincing. "I shouldn't have brought him. I just had nobody to watch him. And I thought maybe if they saw I had a child to feed." The bikers exchanged glances and something unspoken passed between them. Jake stood, helping Sarah to her feet with unexpected gentleness. "You two wait here. We're going to have a conversation with the folks at Bronson Manufacturing." Sarah grabbed his arm. "Please don't make trouble. I can't afford any more problems. They're already threatening to blacklist me with other factories in town." Jake's smile was grim but reassuring. "Ma'am, we're not going to make trouble. We're going to make things right. There's a difference." He turned to a woman in the group, a tough-looking rider with kind eyes named Rosa. "Stay with them, would you?" As the bikers fired up their engines again and rolled toward the factory, Sarah felt a strange mix of fear and hope. Rosa sat down beside them on the curb, producing a first aid kit from her saddlebag and gently cleaning Sarah's cut. "Don't worry," she said with a knowing smile. "This crew has a reputation, sure, but it's not the one most people think. We're all veterans, most of us. We've seen enough wrong in this world. When we can make something right, we do it." At the factory, Jake and his crew rolled through the gates, their presence impossible to ignore. The same security guards who had manhandled Sarah emerged from the building, their bravado intact until they saw the wall of leather and chrome confronting them. Jake dismounted slowly, deliberately, and walked up to the nearest guard. "We need to see your manager. Now." His voice carried no threat, just absolute certainty that his request would be honored. Inside the factory manager's office, Dale Bronson sat behind his desk, a third-generation factory owner who had inherited his family's business and its callous attitude toward workers. When Jake and 3 of his crew walked in past his protesting secretary, Dale's face reddened with indignation. "You can't just barge in here. I'm calling the police!" "Go ahead," Jake said calmly. settling his considerable frame into a chair across from the desk. "We'll wait, because the police will be very interested to hear about your security guards assaulting a woman and her 7-year-old son outside your building. Assault on a minor is a serious charge, Mr. Bronson. And withholding wages? That's theft." Dale's hand hesitated over the phone. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sarah Mitchell. She worked here for 8 years. You laid her off and never paid her final wages. She came today to ask for what she's owed. And your goons roughed her up and broke her kid's toy. A toy his dead father made him." Jake leaned forward, his voice dropping lower. "Now, we're not here to cause damage to your factory or harm anyone, but we are here to make sure Sarah gets every penny you owe her, plus a little extra for medical expenses and emotional distress. And we're going to make sure those security guards face consequences for putting hands on a woman and child." Dale tried to bluster, but something in Jake's steady gaze made him falter. Behind Jake, his fellow bikers stood silent and immovable, their presence filling the room. One of them, a lean man named Pete, stepped forward and placed a phone on the desk, already recording. "We've got witnesses," Pete said quietly, "and video from the diner's security camera across the street. Your guards got aggressive with an unarmed woman and her kid. Now, you can either make this right here and now, or we can take this video to every news station in Pennsylvania. I imagine factory owner allows child assault would make for quite a headline." The color drained from Dale's face as he realized these weren't thugs looking for a fight. They were smart, organized, and had him cornered legally. After a long moment, he reached for his checkbook with shaking hands. 2 hours later, Sarah stood outside the factory gates, clutching a check for $12,000. Her owed wages plus compensation for the assault and wrongful termination. Beside her, Marcus held his broken toy, tears still drying on his cheeks. Jake knelt down in front of the boy once more. "Listen, Marcus, I can't bring your daddy back, and I know this toy meant the world to you because he made it. But I've got a buddy who's a master woodworker. If you let me borrow these pieces, I promise you we'll fix it so good you won't even see where it broke. And if we can't fix it, my buddy will make you a new one just like it. Your daddy's design honored properly." Marcus looked at his mother, who nodded through fresh tears, these ones born of gratitude rather than pain. The boy carefully placed the broken pieces in Jake's large, scarred hands. "You promise?" Marcus whispered. "I promise, son. A biker's word is sacred. You'll have it back in a week." As the crew prepared to leave, Sarah found her voice. "Why? Why did you help us?" "You don't even know us." Jake swung his leg over his motorcycle and looked back at her, his eyes distant for a moment. 20 years ago, I came home from Desert Storm with nothing. No job, no prospects, broken inside and out. A stranger helped me when nobody else would. Gave me a job in his shop, taught me a trade, helped me find my way back to being human. He started his engine, the familiar rumble filling the air. I learned that day that we're all just people trying to get by, and sometimes the scariest-looking folks are the ones who understand struggle best. We don't forget what it's like to need help. And we don't ignore it when we see someone else hurting. As the bikers rode away, their engines fading into the distance, Marcus tugged on his mother's hand. "Mom, those are the good guys, right?" Sarah pulled her son close, watching the motorcycles disappear around the corner. "Yeah, baby, those are definitely the good guys." The story spread through town like wildfire. Within days, the video of the factory incident and the bikers' intervention had been shared thousands of times on social media. News outlets picked it up, and suddenly Bronson. Manufacturing faced scrutiny not just for assaulting Sarah and Marcus, but for years of labor violations. Dale Bronson was forced to settle with dozens of former employees for unpaid wages, and the security guards were fired and charged with assault. But the real miracle happened the following Saturday. Jake and his crew pulled up to Sarah's small apartment, and Marcus came running out to meet them. Jake dismounted, reaching into his saddlebag to pull out a carefully wrapped package. Inside was the wooden motorcycle, restored so perfectly that only the faintest lines showed where it had broken, and those lines had been filled with gold leaf, making the breaks part of its beauty rather than a flaw. "In Japan," Jake explained as Marcus cradled the toy with reverence, "they have this art called kintsugi. When something breaks, they repair it with gold, making it more beautiful for having been broken. Your daddy's toy survived because it's strong. just like you and your mom. Those gold lines? They're proof of that strength. Marcus threw his arms around Jake's waist, and the tough biker's eyes grew suspiciously bright. Sarah mouthed, "Thank you," over her son's head, but Jake just shook his head. "You teach that boy that kindness isn't about how you look or how much money you have," he said. "It's about seeing someone who needs help and being willing to do something about it." That's all we did. As the bikers rode away once more, Marcus clutched his restored toy and looked up at his mother. "When I grow up, I want to help people like Jake does." Sarah smiled, finally feeling like the darkness of the past months was lifting. "Then that's exactly what you'll do, baby. That's exactly what you'll do."